Hi all, and welcome to my presentation on inheritance and abstraction in Java. Let's get started. So what is inheritance? Well, inheritance is one way to express is-a-class relationships. In this example, we have a picture book, a textbook, and a book. As we all know, a picture book is a book, and a textbook is also a book. We can therefore express these as having the class relationship as is A, therefore textbook is a book, and picture book is a book. Let's look at how to implement this in Java. In Java, we can use the extends keyword to show that textbook extends book or any other subclass extends a superclass. And when we do this, we are also allowed to use the super keyword. This keyword allows us to reference the class's immediate parent class. So in this case, if we say super at num pages, because book has an available integer num pages, that's a field that this one can access, that's what protected does, then yes, we can access it. We also see this in picture book as well, where we get super.num pages plus additional pages, which this is an example of static binding because it's final. Final objects will always be statically bound, or final fields, final methods, etc. So in Java, polymorphism is the ability for objects of a derived class to be treated as objects of a base class. This is a big concept in object-oriented programming, and it's pretty much what makes it up. In polymorphism, we define it. We have some definitions based on the kind of type that an object is bound to. So, for example, you have static binding, where the type is determined at compile time, and it doesn't change during the program, so it's very efficient, very quick runtime. On the other hand, we have dynamic binding, which the type is determined during runtime. We have an example of this to the right. So on the right here, you can see we have a public class book and a textbook that extends book, and we have a method output contents that is the same as, or has the same method header as output contents in book. And if this happens, then this method is going to override this method. So if we go ahead and define a book and assign it a book and declare our book and initialize it to a textbook, as you can see, we get different outputs for different ones of these, even though they've both been declared as book. This is an example of dynamic binding, since the derived class, in this case book, is treated temporarily as an object of, is treated temporarily as a textbook over here. In Java, we also have a concept called abstract classes. This allows us to create an abstract class that cannot be initialized, and allows us to create abstract methods, which if we extend something with abstract methods, we must implement them. And this allows us to, it's essentially a templating thing. And it allows us to, for example, if we have a private field inside textbook and we try to implement the output contents thing over here, we don't do this here, but if textbook was a string that was private to book or to textbook, then using the abstract class would be a much better way to go around doing this. Another option for doing pretty much almost the same thing is the interface. So we declare it like this. We don't need to add the abstract here, but this acts almost like an abstract class. And if we use the implement keyword to implement a book, then as you can see, then we have to implement the output contents method. So what's the difference between the abstract classes and interfaces? Well, both abstract classes and interfaces you cannot instantiate them. You cannot instantiate an abstract class, you cannot instantiate an interface, and you must implement the abstract methods or the methods inside interfaces in the class that implements or extends it. However, some advantages of the abstract class of an interface is that an abstract class can also have typical methods, non-abstract methods. They can have fields, they can have a constructor. We saw this in M4. However, interfaces, they can only contain methods that do not have a body. So it's a little bit of a disadvantage. However, on the other hand, with interfaces, you can, because in Java, you're only allowed to extend from one class. You can't inherit values from multiple classes. You can use interfaces so you can inherit values. Well, not really inherit, but you can implement methods from multiple sources, which allows you to do almost multiple inheritance, but not quite, which is quite useful sometimes. So thank you for listening. Here are my sources, and have a nice day. Bye.